Here is Brian in North Carolina. He'll start us off this segment. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Brian, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chris. It's really Brian from Syosset. Moved down to Carolina.
All right, there you go. My hometown to your next hometown in NC. What's on your mind today? Fire away.
Listen, my dad was an FBI agent early on his career in the 60s. They had asked him at one point to go bodyguard or at least do some bodyguard watching with MLK. But in that time, in 68, he already had 3 young kids, including myself, and my mother was pregnant, due in 4 days from now, with my little brother. So she told him, no, you're not going, and you're not going to do that task. Now, from what I understand, the FBI and MLK had a rough relationship. I don't know if after my father refused the position, the chance to go there, as he was allowed to refuse, that they said, forget it, we don't want anybody.
So in other words, then your father could have been helping. You could have been watching Martin Luther King that week.
That's right. My dad was 6'6", about 280 pounds at the time. Could have prevented, could have been a huge obstacle at that time. But a lot of his buddies were that big too. So I don't know if they ended up sending nobody, or if MLK said, fine, I don't want anybody, I don't need anybody, or what the outcome actually was. It would be an interesting question to ask that author you just had on.
Yeah,
interview.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that answer. Hampton did tell us. We all know the King didn't want a lot of people around him. Wanted to be close to his followers. It wasn't wrapped up in bodyguards. Didn't want to be sort of sheltered. So I'm not too sure if it had any effect whatsoever. Here's David in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Dave, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good, dog. How you doing?
All right, David. Thank you. What's up?
Really good spot with the authors in the Tiger book. I got about 40 pages left in the book, and I just wanted to hit on something to see if you picked up on it also. In the chapter when he gets out of the rehab and he's home, I think he was talking to Haney, and he had told him that when he was going back to play, that this time it would basically be for him. And I think it's kind of a surreal moment when you read it, because I think more above everything, loving the game and being a trained assassin and everything else that they go over, how much do you think him trying to remain dominant was to allow his parents the mental ability to validate that everything that they did?
That's an excellent point. Now, his father was dead at this point, but his mother was alive. That's an excellent point. The pressure of doing it for his parents. And then when he came back this last time, I'm going to worry about it myself now. My parents did what they had to do. Now I'm just going to worry about myself. I think the theme there, David, more than anything else, is that I do think the pressure of being Tiger Woods in that environment, growing up as a kid, playing all the golf that he did, being expected to win, being a money-making machine, I think Tiger would probably tell you that its ill effect and the negative ramifications to some of that led to his demise. And I think what he meant with Haney is the next time I'm just going to go about and play when I want to play and do my own thing, and that's the end, and take the pressure off a little bit. And I think maybe he feels that will make him a better person. That was my take on it.
Yeah, I think as a kid it was just, if you think about the pressure, I think it also, him being dominant was probably the only thing that really was holding his mom and dad together for as long as it was.
That's a good point. Yep, good point. Yeah, that was a very dysfunctional family. He's a young kid, sensed this stuff all the time. He probably knew that the idea that his great golf, they could lean. Tiger was their common denominator, their bond, and that puts a lot of pressure on a kid. And I think, especially a kid who's a prodigy, that's a very difficult scenario. Now, I think that's also a convenient excuse of poor behavior, but I do think that occurred for him. That's for sure. 9 in front of the hour here on Mad Dog Unleashed.